you? Do you want to do it from here? This is kind of like more open. Wonderful. I think it worked well. Yes, for you. Shana Tova. Welcome back. Oh, I think we do the Talit together. I'm sorry, yeah. I forgot on our second day. So why don't we rise and we'll put the Talit on together. If you need one, it is outside of the door here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef b'atzitzi. How wonderful it is for us to come together on somewhat of a quiet day. It's really so important. The second day of Rosh Hashanah is like the Hamish day. This is the day where, we can relax a little bit. We might be dressed in our fancy clothing, but we can relax a little bit. The crowds have dissipated, and we can feel a little freer. Obviously, people, you can spread out or feel free to come where you want to. We are very aware of the virus, but it's a pretty smaller group here today. And for those of you, we do have our virtual stream, and we welcome you into our room as well. We are using our gold books for those of you joining us. And we have our morning blessings starting on 124 to 128. And Harvey, since you're over there, would you like to come to the microphone over here? Why don't you lead us 124 to 128 in the morning blessings?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sechli v'ina להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם פוקח עברים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מתיר אסורים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם זוקף כפופים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוקה הארץ על המים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשה לי כל צורכי.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מלביש ערומים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן ליעף כוח.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המעביר שינה מעיניי ותנומה מעפעפיי.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלם אלוהים.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בן חורין.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה. Amen.
Thank you, Harvey. Sorry to put you on the spot there, but thank you for leading our way. We are turning to page 131. In the middle of the page, Achat Sha'alti, one thing we ask of ourselves and of God. Psalm 150, page 135.
Hallelujah, Bikocho, Hallelujah, Bikira Unso, Hallelujah, Bikfubuta, Hallelujah, Kerov Kulo, Goran Shamate, Hallelujah, 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 Goran Shamate, Hallelujah, 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 Benteka Shofar, Hallelujah, Benevavechino, Hallelujah, Bigvutofu Machol, Hallelujah, Bivinive Mugav, Goran Shamate, Hallelujah, 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 Goran Shamate, Hallelujah, 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 Pensitzare Shama, Hallelujah, Pensitzare Trua, Golan Shama, Te Hallelujah, Golan Shama, Te Hallelujah, Goran Shama, Te Hallelujah, 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 Goran Shama, Te Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah.
On page 136, we read responsively. Blessed are we, blessed our gathering as we open our hearts to the voice of the shofar. Happy are we who hears its call to return, the sacred trumpet of Teshuvah. Blessed are we, held close by ancient sound, the echoes Lador Vador from generation to generation. Happy are we, rising to the joyful cry of a new year. Blessed are we who hear in these blasts of sound the voice of community. Happy are we who know its embrace, its season, celebration, its quest for connection and purpose. Holy is this gift of community. Blessed is the act of belonging. So we'll be hearing the shofar a little bit later in our service, but its echo is already here. Why don't we turn now to our call to prayer on page 142. We invite everyone to rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarei choshech oseh shalom uvarei et hakol. Blessed are you God who is there for us in light and darkness and whenever we need, who provides healing and hope for us. And we remain standing for the Shema on page 150.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Vad.
You may be seated, page 152 and 53.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אלוהים מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננת לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וכשאתם לאות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבת על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem.
Let's turn to page 157 at the bottom, and we'll read together. Love God with your mind. Stay curious, open to questions. Marvel at the wonder of what is. Love God with your heart. Stay alive to suffering and joy. Yearn for the world that could be. Love God with your strength. Open your hands and give. Work for the sake of what ought to be. And we turn to the Micha Mocha on page 164.
Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha netam HaKodesh, Noram tehilot Hoseh Shir HaChadasha שבקו גאולים לשמך על שפתיה יחד כולם הודו והמלכו ואמרו Israel, ותקנו ממך יהודה וישראל. גדלנו, אדוני,
invite you to ride for our silent meditation. To rise? Did I say ride? Please rise for our silent meditation beginning on 166. We'll be resuming services on page 175. Take time for your own private prayers and devotions. On page 175, we're going to read responsibly in preparation for Untitled Chapter. Let us embrace the day in its holiness, for this day is a throne of goodness and power. When the people of Israel do God's will, they strengthen God's power on high. But when the people of Israel fail to do God's will, they weaken, if one might say it, God's great power on high. So let this day recall your power and ours. Let it remind us of our promises kept and broken, as we remind you of yours. Let this day be a throne of forgiveness. For today we are the accountants of our souls, the navigators of our hearts, and seeking wholeness and new direction. And we seek you through signs of your presence and the art of sacred history. I make this covenant not with you alone, but with those of you who are standing here this day, and with those of us who are not. God of ages past and future, God this day, as you were with our mothers and our fathers, be with us as well. And we rise for the Untitled Chapter on 174.
Untitled Chapter, Kiddush Yom, Ki Uvot in
page 179. Let's read together in the English. On Rosh Hashanah, we plunge like swimmers into a sea of words. On Yom Kippur, the sea rises, then crests, and we emerge sealed by the wax, warmed by the fire of braided candle. The New Year is like a trailhead opening wide before us. The day of fasting, narrow, breathless, so quick to close. We contemplate a new year, for this we know. Some of us will live and some of us will die. Some will die young and some very old. Some by water, some by fire. Some by sword, some by beast. Some by hunger, some by thirst. Some by plague and some by earthquake. Some by stoning and some by strangling. Some of us will feel at ease, some will be restless. Some will have peace of mind, some will have strife. Some will be tranquil, some will be tormented. Some will be raised high, some will be brought low. Some will have riches, some will be impoverished. Even so, the way we act, the way we speak, the way we meet God's image in ourselves and in others, these things have great power to make our lives matter. Therefore, let us make whole the broken shards, green and thick the withering grass. Let the wind fill us with urgency for life. Let dreams give birth to justice and goodness. God of holiness, God of hope, let us glimpse your truth as we attach our hope to yours. 178 in the Hebrew.
Rosh Hashanah, ikatevut, Yom Som Kippur, Yom Som Kippur, ikatemut, Yom Som Kippur, Yom Som Kippur, ikatemut. Rosh Hashanah, ikatevut, Yom Som Kippur, Yom Som Kippur, ikatemut, Yom Som Kippur, Yom Som Kippur, Ashkit, Ami, Yitarav, Mi Shalem, Ami, Yitaser, Mi Ani, Ami, Ashir, Mi Yushpo.
Page 180 at the top. We'll read together. But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree.
Uteshuva, utefila, utsedaka, wavirin et roh hagezerah.
You may be seated. So the year was 1998, and I was a relatively new driver. I only got my license at 23, and I was driving on the Oakland Bay Bridge. Has anyone here ever driven on the Oakland Bay Bridge before? It's one of the most beautiful bridges. It overlooks the city of San Francisco, and also the Golden Gate Bridge can be seen just a little while away. And I had a few friends in the car with me, and we were going along, and I had the foot a little too fast on the pedal, and I see some brake lights in front of me on the road. It was real quiet, actually. You could drove pretty fast on the bridge that night. And I thought, well, it's just a little bit of a slowdown. And so I thought, well, I'll tap a little on my brake. And lo and behold, I realized the person in front of us was completely stopped, dead stop. So immediately I press as hard as I can on the brake, close my eyes, pray, please God, don't let us crash, don't let us crash. Open my eyes, the car has vanished in front of me, so it went somewhere. And instead of a car, there's a full-size couch in the middle of the Bay Bridge. So my friends say, back up, back up, back up. And I slowly maneuver back, and now there's cars whizzing by me on both sides, and I'm still a new driver, remember? And somehow managed to go down and switch lanes, and I see along the highway there's another couch, another set of chairs. Apparently someone lost their whole living room set. So I tell you that story because of the text we're about to look at. First of all, that story, and we have Bear, a future driver over there, and Hannah, so that's a reminder. If you see someone stop, I tell my kids, this is the couch story. You make sure you brake, because you never know if someone's going to come to a complete stop, right? But it also is revealing about how we think we see the world in a certain way, and then suddenly it surprises us. It catches us off guard. Certainly what's going on with COVID, 9/11, all sorts of events. They change the way we think we're going along. We're making a nice pace, everything's great, and then suddenly everything switches without us really being prepared. And I found these wonderful stories, because as I was thinking about this story on the highway all those years ago, there's a biblical equivalent of it, actually. And we're going to look at that story, so you have your text in front of you. If we had different time, we'd have a chance to study this together, but I'm going to take you through these texts, and they actually do connect into the Rosh Hashanah story. But we start off in the book of Numbers, which is where we started most of our services with Ma Tovu. This is the very famous story of Bilam, the non-Jewish prophet who has come to curse the Jews, but instead is convinced by God maybe it's in his interest not to do so. And we get some of our most wonderful blessings, including the Ma Tovu. How goodly are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. But if we think about this story, you think about my story, you have Bilam, who is basically the equivalent today. If he lived today, he'd have one of those little tiny sports cars. And sorry, I mean no disrespect to anyone that does. And he probably lived in San Francisco or New York City, and he'd probably drive really fast and have very high-powered clients and think that he knew everything about the world. He's basically a biblical consultant that's being brought in. And when he drives, and in this case, he doesn't have a sports car, he has a donkey. But we can imagine him, chugging along. If you think about the roads near San Francisco where they have these wonderful winding routes that make me miserable, but my wife Ashira loves. You can imagine him there going as he's going towards the Israelites, humming his song, just being great. And what happens, as it says in the text here, it says that he woke up in the morning, he saddled his donkey, prepared his sports car, made sure he had enough gas, and got on his way. But God was not too happy with him for his mission. And suddenly, this donkey, as you see in verse 23, the donkey swerves off the road and goes into the fields. And Bilam gets very angry and hits the donkey. You can, again, kicking the car, you can imagine that. And then the donkey keeps going. And the angel, there's an angel in front of them that Bilam can't see, holding a sword. And the angel is positioned in a place in verse 24 where there is no room on either side. There's vineyards and a fence. He's really smushed in there. So the donkey, seeing the angel, squeezes Bilam's foot against the wall. So again, bad donkey, bad donkey. And once more, in verse 26, they go forth again, and the angel of the Lord is standing there with the sword outstretched, and suddenly it's in a the only thing the donkey can do is lay down. And you can imagine Bilam is extremely upset. This is 3 times. He's ready to get rid of the sports car, go to another sports car. This is really awful. And suddenly, if you see in verse 28, the Lord opens the donkey's mouth, and she says to Bilam, "What have I done to you that you have beaten me these 3 times?" And Bilam says to his donkey, "You have made a mockery of me. If I had a sword with me, I'd kill you." The donkey said to Bilam, "Look, I am the donkey that you have been riding all along until this day. Have I been in the habit of doing this to you?" And Bilam answers, "No." Then the Lord uncovers Bilam's eyes, and he sees the angel standing in the way, the drawn sword in his hand. Thereupon he bowed right down to the ground. It's a terrific story. It's about how, we shouldn't take things too lightly. We should really pay attention. We don't really know. We need each other to see the road clearly in front. The rabbis kind of go in a direction, and it's a wonderful commentary. If you want to, this is from Sefaria, the text here, and if for anyone here who wants to just explore any Jewish text, it's really quite incredible. But I found on the next page, there is I think it's a medieval commentator. It's called Tor Ha'aroch, and his name is Rabbi Jacob ben Asher from 1269. There's a number of problems with the Bilam story. Bilam isn't Jewish. That's the main problem. And he can talk to God. How is this possible? This can't be. So the rabbis want to kind of say, yes, he's a prophet, but he's a non-Jewish prophet, so he's not quite as good as our other Israelite prophets. He can't be in the same boat. So this is what he says in the comment, and I just love this. So it says, God uncovered the eyes of Bilam. Nachmanides, he's talking about Rabbi, not Maimonides, Nachmanides, another famous 12th century rabbi, really one of the greatest teachers in Spain. And he writes the principle message of our verse is that there was a need to remove the spiritual blinkers, the Gilui Einaim from Bilam's eyes, the blinkers that had prevented him from becoming aware of the angel. So there was something covering his eyes that did not allow him to go. And I love this term, Gilui Einaim, spiritual blinkers. First of all, it sounds like the car, like the blinkers that we have on a car. What does it mean? How does this prevent us, and how do we get rid of these Gilui Einaim? So the commentator here actually points us immediately to the story that we read yesterday of Hagar. Hagar also is a celebrated non-Jewish presence in the story. And of course her son Ishmael, who would lead another nation. So we can't feel fully good about her from a rabbinic standpoint. And so they also have to question. So you remember Hagar yesterday? We did read from this. We have Harvey and Jeff here. They read the reading, and then Andy Abramovitz actually read this section. So it says here, this is the third aliyah. Early next morning, Abraham took some bread, a skin of water, and gave them to Hagar. He placed them on her shoulder, together with a child, and sent her away. And she wandered about in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water was gone from the skin, she left the child under one of the bushes and went and sat down at a distance, a bow shots away, for she thought, let me not look on as the child dies. And this is one of the most heartbreaking stories. You have a mother alone, no water, with a little baby on her shoulder, and completely desperate. How could Abraham and Sarah have done this to her? How could they have sent a young mother off in a place where she had to fend for herself? And so it says, God heard the cry of the boy, and an angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, what troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heeded the cry of the boy where he is. Come, lift up the boy, hold him by his hand, and I will make a great nation for him. Then God opened her eyes, you see? It's the same sort of idea here. And she saw the well of water. She went and filled the skin with water and let the boy drink. So in the first case, Bilam's eyes are closed, so he can't see the danger. He's just rushing forward, ready to do his normal. He has no idea what's in store for him, and the donkey is preventing him from hurting himself, is protecting him. And in this case, she's in a desperate situation, and she's not able to see what could save her in front of her. That she has something blocking her eyes here. And lastly, we have today's story. I include the whole story here, which is also in your Machzor. But let's look just at the end, if you turn the page, and you see that a similar story happens with Abraham. So he's about to sacrifice. Why don't we go to verse 9. They arrived at the place of which God had told him. Abraham built an altar there. He laid out the wood. He bound his son Isaac. He laid him on the altar and on top of the wood. And Abraham picked up the knife to slay his son. Then an angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. And he answered, here I am. And he said, do not raise your hand against the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your favored one, from me. When Abraham looked up, he saw the ram in the thicket. So here, the rabbis wouldn't say that because this is Abraham, but he also has these spiritual blinkers. So I thought maybe we'd have a brief conversation. What are these spiritual blinkers that are preventing us? How do we take them off of our eyes? And how do we proceed safely ahead so that we can see what can save us, and we can also see the dangers on our way? So if you have something you'd like to say, you could just stand at your seat and just call it out. Think about it for a moment. Maybe most of you have people, see, this is so complicated with COVID, right? I don't really want you to move closer to each other. Okay, so if you have any ideas, just call it out now. You guys are a brave bunch, I know.
Rabbi, I'm stuck on the word blinkers. Shouldn't it be blinders? Shouldn't that be the word that should be used? Because blinking doesn't imply not seeing. Blinders does. I don't think there's any meaning there.
Well, Al Gallon pointed out that this is something, actually, I was going to retranslate it because I felt the same exact way to you, that these are spiritual blinders. I don't know exactly what they mean. I think that they meant this in a negative sense, that these were non-Jews, and God deliberately put these things that prevented them from seeing. But if you think about blinkers, blinkers are the hazards that go up when you're driving, that alert others that something's going on in your car or on the way or in front of you. That kind of, so it's kind of nice that way, actually, that I was thinking about it. But I had the same thought. Yeah, Leslie. Yeah, maybe it's distractions, and it's definitely true about driving today, right? We have a lot of distractions, so maybe the distractions are preventing. Yeah, Jill.
I was thinking how, particularly lately, a lot of people get so set in one way of thinking about something or looking at something that they can't even see the other information that might be out there that contradicts that.
That's wonderful. So Jill Hamilton was saying that sometimes people become like so focused on one way of doing things, it prevents us from really seeing maybe there's some other alternatives. Particularly during the pandemic, that's been really hard. You know, we have all these kind of things that have changed along the way, and we're still just trying to figure out what the best way to do it to prevent the virus from spreading. Yes.
Sort of clarify blinkers versus blinders a little bit. I don't know if anybody else out here rode horses, done anything with horses, but I don't know how far back they go, but if you get a bridle of a horse, and you don't want the horse to get distracted, you put two little eye flaps, because horses have almost 360 vision. You're lying right in front of them, but if you block off most of their peripheral vision, they're not going to see the things happening behind them, or, 270 degrees off to the side. So those are called blinkers.
That is so wonderful. Jennifer, right? Is that? Okay, so Jennifer was saying that for people that ride horses, that horses don't have great vision, but they have great peripheral vision. So if you just put what they call blinkers, that's actually the name for them, on the side so they can't see, they won't get distracted by everything. So that's a wonderful, that's exactly why we have discussions. I never would have known that. Maybe one or two more comments, and then we'll put this to close and hopefully take off our spiritual blinkers.
Jeff and I were driving home from our son Michael's house last night. I won't say who was driving, but the car in front put on this great lights right over Sheridan Drive where the people in this room 45 miles an hour. And the driver said, "What kind of driver is this? Who is it?" Well, as we went by, we noticed that the driver in front of us saw a deer crossing Sheridan Drive. And that's why that driver slowed down. Perhaps a collision with a deer.
Harvey was mentioning just last night with his son that they were driving and someone was slowing down on Sheridan and they were getting a little perturbed in their car. It turned out there was a deer. Sorry, I'm repeating because we do have some virtual gatherings and to make sure everyone hears. Yeah, oh, Cantor, yes.
I think this is so helpful to have these three circumstances, together, to study together, because I think this is more common than not, that we just don't see what's around us. I think we miss so much, and sometimes you could really feel it when you suddenly are awakened by something, whether it be spiritually or something that happens that touches you. You wonder how much you've missed. I know I miss a lot.
Well, I think all of us feel that way particularly, and I think it's very true. It's so easy. All right, Marina, you got the last comment.
I was thinking about sometimes when in my life that because of the way we grew up in the tradition or the way of thinking about how things should go, and then the world and times are changing, and then it takes sometimes a side conversation, like with your children who are in the new world, to kind of bring out, this is the way we look at it now, and it changes your perspective, and like, oh, it's not about this, it's about this. And it kind of helps you grow.
Yeah, Marina, you're pointing out a beautiful thing, which actually I don't think would have been true a generation ago. Marina's pointing out how sometimes, especially when we're talking to a younger generation, or there's different generations, they teach us that the world is changing. I think particularly gender ideas and about racism and all sorts of things like that. I think the older generation is doing a better job of listening, wouldn't you say? Like back in the 60s, I don't think that was really the case. So I think we're a little bit better, and I think we should listen to our youngsters in particular. Thank you. It's a wonderful discussion, and I found it really interesting. Sometimes and I would encourage you to look through Safaria. These comments, not all the commentaries in English, but even if you can find it, it blows your mind sometimes, just some of these things. They wrote about 1,000 years ago. I mean, they're writing about this. Okay, so we are now going to be moving into our shofar service. We have Sheldon. We have to tell you what we need to do, because we're doing it a little differently this year. So, Joanne, Joanne's going to open the side door over here. This is a way of protecting everyone here. Actually, Jeff was pointing out to me yesterday that his congregation in Binghamton, they're doing the same thing. I know Beth Sedek, we were over there for Slichot, they're doing that. This is, it's kind of like a nice compromise. It's harder for the shofar blowers, so thank you, Sheldon. All right, we're going to rise for the blessings of the shofar. Are we doing the blessings? Yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah, we just won't do the Shehecheyanu because we did it yesterday.
Okay, perfect. So page 206, we're going to do our blessings.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishma kol hashofar.
Amen. Blessed are you, God, who fills the universe with your majestic might and summons us to hear the sound of the shofar. Now, Sheldon, the key is you could come in the room, just make sure the outside of the shofar is out. Okay, then we're all good. Okay, ready. Tikiyah. Shivarim Trua. Tikiyah. Tikiyah. Shivarim. Tikiyah. Tikiyah. Trua. Tikiyah Gedolah. Nicely done.
Hayom hara olam. Hayom hara olam. Hayom hara olam. Hayom hara olam.
And we remain standing for Avinu Malkeinu on 223. Sheldon, we're done for our service for now. Maybe we'll blow one more time outside when we're finished. Or at the very end of the service, we'll do. 223, Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu Vanenu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu v'hanenu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu v'hanenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu v'hanenu, ki ein banu ma'asim.
We turn now to our Torah service on page 227. Sorry, no, we're on page 228 at the top. Adonai, Adonai.
Adonai, Adonai, Erachum v'chanun, Erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet, Naseh chesed la'alafim, Naseh avon v'fesha v'chata'ah v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, Erachum v'chanun, Erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet, Naseh chesed la'alafim, Naseh avon v'fesha v'chata'ah v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, Erachum v'chanun, Erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet, Naseh chesed la'alafim, Naseh avon v'fesha v'chata'ah v'nakeh.
You may be seated. We're going to turn now to our Torah reading itself, which can be found on page 240. We have the famous Akedah, and we have 3 different readers. Just please be very careful as you're coming across. We'll do 3 aliyot this time. So first, we have Harvey Horowitz will be reading. Do you want me to pull that up? Why don't we do the first aliyah, and you can just stand at your place for this one. For everyone who is celebrating some great accomplishment or something that they want to tell the world, a nachas, that they're feeling, that they're kvelling with pride about. So just raise your hand, and if you have things you want to tell us. Yes, Sheila, stand on it. Wonderful. So first of all, we have starting kindergarten, a grandchild, and we have a son, Eric, who has been appointed chief executive officer of Elderwood. Wonderful. Now I have an insight over at Elderwood. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, Marina.
Our son Joshua finally started a new, well, it's an internship at the Manhattan Mental Institute or something like that, psychiatric hospital, right? Manhattan Psychiatric Hospital, and as he says, he is now officially a civic servant and get paid.
Marina mentioned that her son Josh is starting at an internship over at the New York Mental Institution, And he's finally getting paid after many years in school. So yes, Barry, yeah. So 2 nephews. Sorry, I didn't hear, Barry. I'm sorry. They got engaged. Oh, we have an engagement. All right, Barry was just telling me. Wonderful. 2 weddings in the mishpacha. What a wonderful double simcha. Yes, Hannah. It's your last year of elementary school. Yeah, we had a lot of kids starting today. Yeah, Joanne? So Aiden, it's his birthday, so happy birthday, Aiden, and it's his first day back in school in 18 months during this time span. First day of 11th grade, but he's also back in person school. Yeah. Yeah, Jill?
We're just about empty nesters,
So just, oh, sorry.
one child with a really good job and the other one's very rested.
We have empty nesters. Wonderful. I should be so lucky in a number of years. My wife's already getting a guess. Jerry Joe. Lil is a senior. Yeah, I just heard about her first day too. Wonderful. Okay, so let's bring all those in. So those of you that called out, or anyone else that wants to celebrate, we'll do the Aliyah, which I think is on page 230. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar b'anu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Come on up and hold open Torah, please.
Yeah, the Torah tends to roll in the Genesis. You probably need to be on the other side, Leslie, because I think it's the bigger side that rolls. Oh, which side? The smaller one? Whatever Harvey.
The smaller one is the problem. Bigger one stays where it is. Amen. Vayehi achar hadvarim ha'ele v'ha Elohim nisa et Avraham vayomer elav Avraham vayomer hineni vayomer kachna et bincha et yechidecha asher ahavta et Yitzchak v'lech lecha el eretz haMoriah v'ha'alehu sham le'olah al achad heharim asher omar elecha vayashkem Avraham baboker vayachavosh et chamoro vayikach et shnei ne'arav ito v'et Yitzchak beno vayavaka ad se'olah vayakom vayelech el hamakom asher amar lo ha'Elohim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Thank you, Harvey. And we have Leslie Jasek for the second Aliyah. And maybe we'll need you to, oh, it looks like it's staying pretty well. We're going to do this one for healing. And why don't we go around, and if you have names you want to call out, just raise your hand or stand up, whatever you like. Yeah. speak all those names, and what we'll do is we'll do the Aliyah, and then we'll do the Mishaberach afterwards. So let's, those of you that want to rise for this, or you can sit down for it, we'll do the blessing again. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach, Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed, Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kervanu la'avodato v'natan lanu et torto, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Bayom hashlishi, vayisa Avraham et einav, vayar et hamakom merachok. Vayomer Avraham el na'arav, shuvu lachem po im hachamor, va'ani v'hana'ar nelcha ad ko, v'nishtachave v'nashuva alechem. Vayikach Avraham et atzei ha'olah, vayasem al Yitzchak beno, vayikach biyado et ha'esh ve'et ha'ma'achelet, vayelchu shnehem yakdav. Vayomer Yitzchak el Avraham aviv, vayomer avi, vayomer hineni veni, vayomer hine ha'esh ve'ha'etzim, ve'ayeh haseh le'olah. Vayomer Avraham Elohim yir'elo haseh le'olah beni, vayelchu shnehem yakdav.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. We'll do our healing blessing now, our Mishaberach, and that is on page 245.
Mishaberach avotenu, mikol habracha le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu, mikol habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Complete healing of body and soul. And we have the third Aliyah that's registered, that's reserved for all of us. So let's rise as community, as Harvey will be chanting. Yamdu kol kilat shir shalom l'aliyah hashlishi. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach,
Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayavo'u el hamakom אשר אמר לו האלוהים. ויבן שם אברהם את המזבח, ויערוך את העצים, ויעקוד את יצחק בנו, וישם אותו על המזבח ממעל לעצים. וישלח אברהם את ידו, ויקח את המאכלת לשחוט את בנו. ויקרא אליו מלאך אדוני מן השמיים, ויאמר אברהם אברהם, ויאמר הנני. ויאמר אל תשלח ידך אל הנער, ואל תעש לו מאומה, כי אתה ידעתי כי ירא אלוהים אתה, ולא חסכת את בנך את יחידך ממני. וישא אברהם את עיניו, וירא והנה איל אחר נאחז בסבך בקרניו. וילך אברהם ויקח את האיל, ויעלהו לעולה תחת בנו. ויקרא אברהם שם המקום ההוא אדוני יראה, אשר יאמר היום בהר אדוני יראה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Mishaberach Avotenu Abraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, v'Yimotenu Sarah, Rachel, and Leah. May the Holy One have blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Bless all those who read Torah. Bless all those of us who recited a blessing before Torah. And those of us who will be reciting Haftorah, may we be blessed with holiness and happiness and joy in this coming year. May we feel a sense of pride in our community, in our place. And may we have strength to embark on this year that we have in front of us. May the year 5782 be one filled with love and life and happiness and joy and community. And we say, Amen. We're going to sit down now. We symbolically put the Torah around, and we have Laura Majeski that's going to be reciting the Haftorah from the middle of our room here. The Haftorah can be found, the blessings on 247, and the Haftorah on 258.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim, v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah, uv'Moshe avdo, uv'Yisrael amo, uv'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Ko amar Adonai matzachen b'midbar, am siridei charev, haloch lahargio Yisrael. Merachok Adonai nir'ali, ve'ahavat olam ahavtich, al ken mishachti chased. Od evnech v'nivneit betulat Yisrael, od tadi tupaich v'yatzat bimchol mesachakim. Od titaich eramim
בהרי שומרון, נטעו נוטעים וחיללו. כי יש יום קראו נוצרים בהר אפרים, קומו ונעלי ציון אל אדוני אלוהינו. כי כה אמר אדוני, ראונו ליעקב שמחה וצהלו בראש הגויים. השמיעו הללו ואמרו, הושע אדוני את עמך, את שארית ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, צור כל העולמים, צדיק בכל הדורות, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום הזיכרון הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד, ודברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל. ביום הזיכרון. Amen.
Yesher Koach, beautiful. Thank you. A wonderful Torah reading and Haftorah reading. It just is wonderful and so uplifting. It's a labor of love, right? to do that. So wonderful. So we're going to move now to the close of the service on page 286. Now that you're sitting, we're going to have you stand for Aleinu as we move to the very end of our service.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשן כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגובדנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
On the next page,
ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
may be seated. We're turning now to our Mourner's Cottage, which can be found on page 292. It's during our holiday season that we especially remember those that are not with us, and we dedicate ourselves to us. On Yom Kippur, of course, we will have our Yizkor prayers, but it is probably the hardest. These are the times where we gathered as families. And we're remembering on our Shloshim list, we remember Rosemary Chow, Lynn Converso Miller, and Kenneth Nightinger, who died in the last month. On our yard site list from years past, we remember Betty Barker, Elizabeth Bell, Jack Bernstein, Saloon Bahovsky, Francis Bink, Barbara Brogadier, David Budak, Leo Berwick, Eugene Chertok, Theodore A. Cohan, Saul Cutler, Gerald Glasser, William Goldberg, Irving Goldstein, Joseph Graber, Pamela Harrisberg, Jacob Hesch, Selah Hesch, Lizzie Iggers, Betty Markel Jacobson, Milton Jaffe, Willard Johnson, Harriet Carls, Lois Culloden, Samuel Kushner, Emil D. Laufer, David Margulis, Abe Martin, Marie Malucci, Pauline Newman, Ralph Olshan, Aaron Plaskin, Dr. Max Revo, Evelyn Solomon, Sam Strauss, Martin Tall, Minnie Tobkin, Robert Victor, Lawrence Weiner, and Harriet Chazen Wexler. If there's other names you're thinking about, feel free, yeah. And all whose custom it is to rise, 292. Yitgadal, V'yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yalma, Divrach, Chirate, V'yamlik Mochute, V'chayachon, V'yamachon, V'chayed, Echol Beit Yisrael, V'agala V'zman Kariv, Yimru Amen, Yehi Shmei Rabbah, Mevorach, Li'olam, Olmei Almaya, Yitbarak, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitalev, V'yitalal, Shemei Dekudesha, Rechu, Leila uleila min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'yimur amen, yehi shlomer rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimur amen, oseh shalom v'yimur hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yal kol yoshvei tevel v'yimur amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn. May we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved, and we say, you may be seated. And it looks like Joanne Marquessy, who puts together announcements, is going to be doing the traditional Bruce chorus role here.
Shana Tova, everyone. We'd like to thank Rabbi Alex, Cantor Frank, and Paul Staley for a beautiful service today in honor of our second day of Rosh Hashanah. Please remember that masks are required, sorry to say that without it on, at all times when you're inside of our building. High Holy Day prayer book dedications are still available. They can be done before Yom Kippur if you're interested. They do go in each prayer book, one for Rosh Hashanah and one for Yom Kippur, and the forms are just on the table outside the front office. If you would like to receive a complimentary break fast bagel box after Yom Kippur services on Thursday, September 16th at about 7:30, please let me know by tomorrow. Just send me an email or call, whatever's easiest for you. And it's sponsored by Rabbi Alex's Discretionary Fund and catered by Johnny Cease. We'd also like to thank Sue Hill and Mark Neutinger for steaming and hanging our curtains in time for High Holy Days. And our cemetery at Whitechapel Memorial Park was carefully cleaned by the caring hands of Todd Sugarman and TLS Landscaping. We thank you for performing this very important mitzvah and for the beautiful landscaping on our property here as well. And you can join Rabbi Alex on Sunday for Kaver Avot at Whitechapel Memorial Park at 1:30 for a brief service, or if you're not able to attend, we will be providing Zoom for that. We'd also like to thank our women of Shir Shalom for assembling our High Holy Day food drive bags. We do have some bags left today if you didn't get one yesterday or you'd like a second one, along with Rabbi Alex's red bandanas. And we appreciate your support of this meaningful mitzvah, and the food will be donated to Feed More of Western New York. If you need anything during High Holy Days, please ask one of our greeters that wear white boutonnieres, one of our board members with a name tag, or me. And Shana Tova to you and your families, and thank you for affiliating with Congregation Shir Shalom.
Thank you, Joanne. And we are ready for Adon Olam, page 298.
Adon Olam Hashem Alach B'terem kol Yitzir Nivra L'yitnasa B'chefso kol Hasai Melech Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kiklot HaKol Levado Yilach Nora V'hu haya V'hu hover V'hu yiyeh V'tifara V'hu echad V'ein sheni L'kam shilo L'achbira B'li reshit B'li tachlit V'lo haoz V'hamizrah V'hu eli V'chai ko'avi V'tzochav li V'yitzara V'hu nisi U'manos li V'nat kosi V'yom nekra V'yado Havkid ruchi V'yitishan V'yahira V'yimruchi Giviyati Adonai li V'lo ira.
Page 300, and Sheldon, we're gonna have one final blast over here. I'll invite you over there, and we have our kiddush still with nothing in our cup. At the top of 300, Cantor will lead us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen l'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And look at the beautiful circular challah here. We're going to invite you to rise for our Tikiyah Gedolah on 301. Ready, Sheldon? Here we go. Tikiyah Gedolah.
Lishana tova tikatevu, Lishana tova tikatevu, tichatemu. May you have a wonderful year.
As you came in peace, please leave in peace. Please actually take your machsarim, your gold ones. We're going to have silver ones for Yom Kippur. Put them on the table to help Kyle out. That would be wonderful. And again, on your way out, we're so grateful to have you here. Shana Tova.
Baruch atah Adonai Mevarech Hashani. Baruch atah Adonai. This is our year to dream. We gather here as another year begins. We pray you give us what we need. But this broken world needs our help to heal. Be a shining light and see